All right, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and we got a little bit of Bitcoin stuff. I've got some interesting charts to show you, and so let's just get straight into it. Hit that like button. There's a lot of FUD out here at the moment. There's a lot of FUD, and I just want to point at this and just show you what experience in the market knows. If you've been around for a while, you will have seen this before as well, but if you're relatively new here, then perhaps I can shine a bit of light on what's going on. It is official. Genesis, a crypto lending company, is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but as I've said over and over again on this channel, this is kind of already baked into the price. The price clearly doesn't care. That's why it continues to pump to the upside. The market has known about this for some time, so I think this one we can rule off as pretty much a nothing burger. Doesn't mean they couldn't start to liquidate assets at some point in the future, but as for right now, the market has shrugged this off. This has been priced in for some time. We knew this was coming for some time, so that's the first piece of FUD I think we can just scratch off and say we don't need to worry about. A couple of days ago, the Department of Justice announced that they had a big regulation announcement to make in terms of the cryptocurrency space, or pertaining to the cryptocurrency space, I should say. That amounted to a nothing burger when they just announced that they were taking down this small Russian exchange that nobody had ever heard of called Bitslato. But the FUD doesn't stop there, okay? The FUD doesn't stop there because now they're saying that Binance was a top counterparty in receiving Bitcoin from Bitslato, and authorities allege Bitslato to have laundered around $700 million through Binance. So again, this is being perceived as FUD. Oh no, Binance is implicated. Maybe they're going to come for Binance. Oh no, Binance has been laundering money in partnership with Bitslato, which got shut down. Maybe they're going to shut Binance down. This is FUD. And I'll tell you why this is FUD. It's quite simple. It is not the job of Binance to check the inflows for every exchange and where they come from. It's not their job. This is the job of the Department of Justice. It's up to them to decide who is laundering money and who isn't. If Bitslato, for example, were involved in some criminal activity, them sending Bitcoin from somewhere like Bitslato over to a Binance exchange to sell is not Binance's problem. Nothing is going to come of this. Let me assure you of that. Absolutely nothing is going to come of this. No one can stop a peer-to-peer Bitcoin transaction. So again, another piece of FUD circulating at the same time as this Genesis FUD. And third and finally, we're seeing even more FUD because the JP Morgan CEO, Jamie Dimon, is saying some ridiculous things. Bitcoin isn't scarce, it's totally untrue. How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million? What's worse is even experienced people in this space are believing what he says. They think that he's not BSing the market. They think that he genuinely is that stupid that he doesn't know there's a hard cap supply that cannot be changed. Of course, Jamie Dimon knows the truth, okay? Don't fall into these traps. Back in 2017, Jamie Dimon said Bitcoin is a fraud that will eventually blow up. And now in 2023, he says it's a hyped up fraud. Some people just don't learn. No, it's not Jamie that didn't learn, okay? It's you. It's the people that believe this FUD. This is absolute nonsense. Let me prove to you, okay? I don't even need to say anything else. I'm just going to show you this clip, this 40-second clip that says it all.
September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. People listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. And that's not illegal.
He says it's a fraud.
It says he'll fire anyone that buys it. Yes.
And at the same time, his company is buying it.
His company is buying it.
So, welcome to the real world. This is how the game is played, okay? He knows what he's doing. He knows it's not a fraud. Of course, he knows. He's done enough research. He knows there's a hard cap of 21 million that cannot be changed. So, anyway, that's that. That's what experience in the market will tell you. If you've been here for a while, you're probably already well aware of this. But I like to look back on this sort of stuff and laugh because when I see headlines like this, when I see that Jamie Dimon is blowing up and trending on Twitter, I saw him trending earlier somewhere around here. Here he is at the bottom, look. Over 9,000 tweets about Jamie Dimon, most of them calling him stupid. He's not stupid, he's buying, okay? Which makes me incredibly bullish. And it's not just Jamie Dimon being bullish and buying Bitcoin whilst fudding the market that makes me excited. It's also this fractal here. I got this fractal from the end of the bear market in 2018. If I scroll all the way out, just so we can be absolutely clear where this came from, I got this fractal from here, okay? This run up out of the bear market of 2018 into 2019. Whilst we cannot rule out a move to the downside here, okay, because it's a market, we can't rule out anything. I still believe there's a very good chance that we see price action, something like this fractal repeat over the coming 60 to 120 days. If you're looking at this and thinking this seems mental, allow me to use this box tool to just show you a couple of things, okay? This was a range for Bitcoin here, roughly speaking. We've now moved up into this range here, encompassing this, as you can see. If I just extend this left, you can see that This is kind of normal price action. This was a normal price range for Bitcoin for many, many months. Consolidation here before a breakout above this box would take us in no time at all to around $30,000 by the end of February. And again, you might be saying this is insane, but if I grab this as a box and extend it back this way, look, you can see all it would be is the price moving back into these prior supply and demand zones. That's all this would be. And then finally, the last box would take us perhaps to this peak at the top, where again, we spent an awful lot of time when you start looking left. As you can see here, if I extend these boxes all the way, a move like this would not be insane. And I hope you can see that just by extending these boxes here. To be clear, I'm absolutely not predicting or calling anything, okay? I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying that I don't think many people realize the ability of Bitcoin to become bullish and to start moving to much higher prices much, much quicker. Where this starts to get even more interesting for me is if we count this thing here, this low here, as a day 52 cycle low for Bitcoin. You can see that 60 days would be to this wick here, which means that just the move from this cycle low here, roughly where my cursor is, up to a high of around $30,000 before wicking down to around $25,000 would just be perfectly within the realm of normal moves for Bitcoin. This would just be the completion of one 60-day cycle, low to low, followed by a day 40 high, which would likely resolve down into another day 60 cycle low. Hopping into my normal chart where I use these cycles, you can see that this cycle low that we're expecting to form on the 28th of February would match up perfectly with this big wick here, this drop into this cycle low. Again, I'm not predicting anything, I'm just pointing at charts and saying I don't think people understand the ability of Bitcoin to get moving when it decides to get moving. So this fractal is valid until it isn't. Of course, if we were to roll over here and break down, then we can rule this one out, we can scratch this one off. But if we continue to chop around for a bit, and then particularly if we break to the upside, you best believe that these much higher numbers are certainly on the cards. Once we had the FTX collapse, I put out a video showing this Wyckoff accumulation schematic. And whilst the spring took longer than I expected, I do think it still qualifies. So if anyone can invalidate this or let me know that I've made a mistake, please do. But as far as I can tell, whilst the spring took a little longer than I'm used to seeing, we have apparently completed the spring. We are now at the last point of support here, before the bullish up thrust and the last point of support at the top, which then becomes a sign of strength before the breakout into phase E. This would be exactly in line with this fractal, and I would not be surprised at all to see this, given the amount of FUD that's out there, and we know this man has a history of FUDding Bitcoin whilst he is buying spot beneath all of the FUD. I guess what I'm saying is, be open to all outcomes. Over in New Hampshire, they are considering a statewide energy plan based on Bitcoin mining. They're looking to follow in the footsteps of Texas, and you can see that here. The commission recommends the governor and the legislature direct the New Hampshire Department of Energy to conduct a public review of how Bitcoin mining operations might be integrated into a statewide energy plan with positive impacts for the electricity system. Having a network of Bitcoin miners is actually very beneficial for stabilizing the grid. When there is excess energy, rather than have to waste it, rather than risk having surges in the power grid, you can direct that excess energy that's not being used into Bitcoin mines. They can take the energy out of the grid and they can compensate you with the block reward in Bitcoin. Conversely, when demand for energy increases, you can supply it by simply turning off the Bitcoin miners in the short term, allowing that energy to then flow back into the grid. This is what people don't understand about Bitcoin mining. It can be used to stabilize energy grids. We know Texas has been benefiting for this for quite some time, and it looks like New Hampshire is looking to get in on this as well. Bitcoin just witnessed a massive short squeeze. This is the highest 24-hour short liquidation since August of 2021. And you can see that here. So shorts continue to get scorched. And with the recent pump in Bitcoin price, Bitcoin has surpassed Tesla in market cap. So this thing continues to climb, and I'm sure it will continue to climb even further. Naturally, where we are at the moment, we have some friction with the long-term holder cost basis. So this is people that have held their positions underwater, they get back to break even and they just say, I want out, I want out. So it makes sense that we're running into some resistance here. It also, remember, makes sense that these shorts are going to continue to get scorched. Every time the price seemingly doesn't quite make a new high and then rolls over, the shorts and the bears go, yes, I told you, I was right. We're going down, we're going all the way down, we're going to 10, going to 12K, and they pile in on the shorts. And then what happens, of course, they get liquidated before the price rolls over again and the shorts pile in and go, yeah, I told you, no new highs, we're going to new lows. And then, of course, what happens is they get completely locked out. They didn't believe this first pump, and after getting liquidated a few times, then they don't believe the second pump. They end up being forced buyers at much higher prices. Bitcoin's new pool, net unrealized profit and loss, has just left the capitulation zone in red and has transitioned to hope and fear. Again, this is something that you normally see coming out of bear markets. This is not something you normally see when we expect another low to form. Over in the equity markets, stocks are forming weekly bearish engulfing candles, according to Bob Lucas, still waiting to see the late February/early March weekly cycle low so he can flip from underweight to overweight. He says failure to get above these November highs, and we can call this a true bear market. So there's a definite tug of war going on at the moment, but in the equity markets, you can see that here we've had rejection at resistance, this blue downward sloping resistance line. For now, we're holding above this little line of support here. If you're a bear, you really want to see a breakdown of this line, and then I think we can make a move down to a cycle low, and then we can look to flip long on that cycle low. The bulls right now want to see this line hold so that we can attempt a breakout of this blue downward sloping resistance line. In the meantime, I remain neutral. I think price is kind of in no man's land until we can break down or break out. So one day at a time as ever from me. It's Friday, not looking to take on any new positions over the weekend. The same applies to the NASDAQ. If we can get a breakout, then that's bullish. If not, I think we have to respect that we're likely heading down towards these lows at least. The Dow Jones has made it back into this range. So the big question is, does this count as enough support to hold the price? Can the price be sustained here, or is this going to break down and open up much further downside for the Dow? The confusion intensifies when we look at the VIX. The VIX did not break out, no daily close above this level. So is it going to continue to chop around and come down? If so, then we would expect the equity markets not to get super ugly super fast. However, this breaks out of here and it's pretty likely that the equity markets are going to suffer dramatically. UKX, not much to say, a little bit of a pullback, but long and strong continue to push. I also noticed there's this trend line here, which is slightly steeper, which it seems to be respecting for now. So keep my eye on that. This red line here is my line in the sand. We break down from that, and I don't want to be anywhere near this trade, so I will be forced to close this trade early. Not a great deal more to say other than gold continues to push higher. Gold continues to push higher. Silver refuses to do anything, still sideways consolidation. And the dollar refuses to get a counter trend bounce. It actually looks more like it's breaking down, retesting, and resuming down off of this line. So this is incredibly bearish. This is incredibly bearish for the dollar, especially because this line of support has been such solid support going back all the way to the middle of 2021. So if we're just going to continue to hot knife through here, this is very, very bearish for the dollar, and I would expect to fuel a move in the precious metals and the miners up towards the top of this range where I'll be looking to take profit. So the question for me is, what happens to Bitcoin now? Does it continue to chop around? Does it continue to do what I thought it might? If I flip this onto log scale, as I showed you earlier, is this what's coming? Or is this going to turn into one of those Bart Simpson patterns where it just comes right back down? If that were to happen, I would lose all of my bullishness for Bitcoin. I have no problem in seeing a back test of the breakout line, something like this, that then goes. But if this is going to lose this blue level here, the breakout level, then all of my bullishness will have been evaporated. But I am happy to tolerate a back test of the breakout before we go, even though that's not my primary expectation. My primary expectation is that we will do something like this and go. So that's all I have to say today. It's Friday. I'm going to finish for the day now, to be honest. I'm going to get this edited and uploaded, and I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go and enjoy my weekend. So if you want to see any more TA or my positions or anything like that in deeper detail, then go back and check the videos over the past week. All of that still holds. Yesterday and the day before particularly, everything I have to say has been said already. So rather than repeat myself, I'll save it. I will do a video tomorrow examining the closes over the weekend. So if you want to see all of that, make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Hope you're doing well in life. Take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.